Ordinary people all around Australia are having strange and unexplainable encounters. Join BFM's Cosmic Girl and Sifu each Friday night at 10 p.m. as they explore the fascinating world of paranormal and tales of strange encounters. Extraterrestrials, ghosts, monsters, myths and magic. BFM 10 p.m. Fridays, the heart and soul of the Bay. Oh, and the spirit along the Redlands coast and beyond.
I saw a bird in the sky and nobody believed me. So I guess I've got to throw myself at the mercy of the paranormal court here. Judge Barry the Brain Taylor presiding, and beg for my strange encounters down under post privileges to be reinstated. Are you going to be a character reference for me? Cosmic Girl, please. I'll take that as she's on the fence as well.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, when you get started in the field.
When you're a rookie, you mean?
When you're a rookie.
I haven't been a rookie for over 20 years,
It's a bit of a new experience for you, isn't it?
I know, right? It's unbelievable.
Yes.
But for you guys, Strange Encounters fans that probably don't know what we're talking about, I posted something online this week that turned out to be a bit of a furphy. But, hey, rookie error. You got to take these things on the chin. And move right along. But the thing is, though, folks, if it doesn't matter what you see or what you perceive to be the real deal, send it in to us at Strange Encounters, because we have the absolute good fortune to have some veteran experts in the field, and they'll be able to tell us if it's true zoo or not pretty quickly, won't they, Cosmic Girl?
Yes, we can.
But I don't think I'm going to live this one down for quite a while, but Strange Encounters fans.
Well, look, it's so easy to get confused.
Especially if you're Sifu, apparently.
Yes.
But look, guys, we have got a awesome show lined up for you guys tonight. It's 10 p.m. and that means we're going to be unleashing a fair bit of strangeness out there in the local community. What are we talking about tonight, Cosmic Girl? We are talking
Aren't
about...
we talking about Ouija boards?
We're talking about Ouija boards. I had the absolute pleasure to go out and interview last weekend a local paranormal investigator crew, South East Paranormal, out there on the range, up on the range at Toowoomba, and I spent a bit of time with them in their private homes where they had a bit of a Ouija board parlor set up, which was pretty cool.
Was it spooky?
No, actually, it was very, very interesting. Although there was a few dolls there that made me feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Did the Ouija talk to you?
No, we actually didn't take her out for a spin. I was just finding out how to use it and the rules around it, if any. And these guys have actually done a fair few of them, and they're very, very, very passionate. So we're talking Bruce, Tina, Lana, Andrew, Josh, and Steve from South East Paranormal. So these guys are right into everything Ouija, and they were good enough to give us some of their time last weekend. So that interview we're going to bring to you right now, and let me tell you, if you are considering having a little bit of a play with the awesome talking board, this is a must-listen interview for you guys.
Hi, I'm Tina.
And I'm Bruce, and we're from South East Paranormal.
When we're not out investigating, we listen to the Strange Encounter Show with Cosmic Girl and Sifu on 100.3 Bay FM, the heart, soul and spirit of the Bay.
Sifu here. It's Saturday morning. I'm in the lovely Toowoomba area with some paranormal peeps from South East Paranormal. We've got Bruce, we've got Andrew, we've got Josh, we've got Tina and Alana here. How are you going this morning, guys?
Great.
Good.
And they've, Bruce and Tina have invited me into their lovely spooky home. I'm sitting in a parlour at the moment doing this interview, and I've got this awesome handcrafted Ouija board in front of me, and there's all these really creepy dolls staring right back at me. I'm used to having attracting some funny looks, but not from haunted dolls. So just a little bit unnerving to say the least. So, yeah, there you go. So we're here to talk about all things Ouija, because just a bit of a background to these guys, strangers. It's really unusual because I've known Tina and Bruce for a little while now, and I've been along to some of their tours that they do in the local Toowoomba, Highfields, Drayton, and now Laidley areas. So, but I wasn't really aware of this until very recently, that they've got a real fetish for Ouija. And it's actually developed to a level of expertise and something that they actually quite actively incorporate in their tours. Would you agree with that, Tina? Bruce?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And why do you look? It's a funny thing, when you're talking about relationships with things like inanimate objects, and you say you love it. Why do you love Ouija board? Why is it?
Oh, no, because we've been investigating the paranormal for a while, so you start off and you capture small things when you first start, and you get excited, and after a while, sort of the excitement wears off, and you're always after the next big thing, like what's next, what's coming next. So,
but isn't it just a board game?
No, not
it's
at all.
not. Like it's funny. You talk you talk to a lot of people, and I have over the years about Ouija boards and where it comes from. We all know the whole Kennard history and how it's come into being, and it's a bit smoky, I guess, and a bit unclear, because the more that you look into Ouija history, I guess the more questions are raised. Hey, so it has basis in sort of occultism, and it was sort of commercialized occultism, in the latter half of the 19th century.
Yeah.
So it's captured the imagination of a lot of people worldwide. And here we have some fair dinkum Aussie examples of that in you guys. So you're almost the entire teams here, and you've all had your experiences with the board.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So how long have you been working the board for?
About a year now. It's not that long. I mean, we've taken it up, and we've progressed from perhaps no movement to full on conversations, which is awesome. When you look at the communication that we get and the information that we receive from the board, you sort of you wonder how that information can come through. How could 5 people, 6 people sitting on a board all come to the point of actually choosing the same piece of information, and for that right piece of information to come through? So, I mean, about a year, I think we've been using it.
We're not talking about words. We're talking about paragraphs that come off our
sentences.
And it's relevant as well.
It's relevant.
It's happening in our lives as well.
Yeah.
Not just to do with paranormal.
Yeah.
It's coming back to our lives as well.
Exactly,
Can you do lotto numbers?
We've actually had an instance.
or in your case, Josh, could I let you know where the speed cameras are?
Please do, yeah, definitely need that.
We have had a lotto number instance.
Really?
Yes, we
did
have.
ask
There's a story behind
You're
this.
not supposed to ask that sort of stuff.
It's
and
divine intervention,
a lot of the time, certain questions they just won't answer, like, is there a heaven, is there a hell, does God exist? For some reason, it'll stop dead, and just
It just won't
refuse
move.
to answer. It won't move.
Yeah.
But one particular night, we were talking to someone, and just as a joke, we said, can you give us the lotto numbers? And he gave us a series of numbers, and we didn't really think much of it. And then, what was it, probably 6 months later?
Yeah,
we were speaking to the same spirit who come through on the board that we were talking to. And we asked if he had any messages for us. And I think he had messages for a couple, and then it was my turn to receive a message. And my message was, those lotto numbers were legit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you missed out.
I did go back and try and find what numbers they were to cross-check it, but I couldn't find the recording from that night where we'd received the numbers.
So, Bruce, did you give yourself an uppercut, or did Tina do that?
Everyone gave me an uppercut. Everyone, because
It would have been a paranormal investigation crew to the rich and famous.
that would have been.
If you got that one happening.
That was our thing. If we ever said, if any of us wins a lotto, we're going on a paranormal world tour. So
Right.
that was my chance.
I can see the actual jackets for that tour in my head right now.
Yep.
Okay, look, let's back things up a bit, guys, because, a lot of the strangers out there that listen to Strange Encounters radio show, they wouldn't have a clue about Ouija. They wouldn't have a clue about where it comes from or how you'd actually use it. And you're talking about rules involved with the actual manipulation of the use of the device. And where does all that come from? Do you want to walk a novice like myself through it?
Rules for the device.
The only rules I know of are like don't feed them after midnight, don't get them wet.
Don't get them wet. Yeah,
that sort of thing.
For sure.
Oh, hang on, no, that's my wife. Okay.
It's probably the rules is it comes down to courtesy and respect for the spirits. Like you don't want to jump on there.
But where do they come from, Brucey? Those rules, yeah.
It's just I guess it's just a collaboration over time that
right, I get it.
People have sort of come up with. I don't believe there's any real sort of ironclad rules that you must do this or you must do that. But basically, we open with our opening prayer, and we also close the board with a closing prayer. That's our rules, our own personal rules.
And like without giving up the context or the content of the prayer, what sort of concepts or ideology do you touch on when you're doing that?
So basically, the prayer obviously involves Jesus and
asking for protection.
Malevolent
spirits, from evil spirits.
Do you have a affinity with or relationship with Christianity as a crew?
I am still a believer in God. I still believe that there's a God, or at least there is a higher being.
Like a Christian God? Or?
Yeah, Christian God. I'm definitely Christian.
I'm on the fence.
He's on the fence.
I don't.
And that's changed. That opinion's changed.
That's come through on the board in terms of angels and stuff that have come through and communicated with us. You know, before I did the board, I was a big sort of non-believer, in God and that sort of thing. But it's weird because it sort of makes me partially believe that it could be true. So
that noise, strangers, was just Brucey dropping the planchette there. A bit nervous. Maybe they're getting a jump start on it. They're saying, "Where's the board? Get the board out, Brucey."
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is he picking it up and he's playing with it? It's really unusual that he was doing that. Actually,
I always do though. Whenever it's there, even before we do a Ouija session,
he's always the one that holds it. Yeah. Yeah, usually the person who's going to run the board will open the board with the prayer.
Yeah.
And it's a standard prayer for our board. Andrew, he's got his own board and he's got his own prayer, and I think it's each to their own. You've got to have something that works to yourself and works to the people that you're with. One thing that we're strong on is that even though you might not believe in a Christian God or whatever, that definitely amen is said. It's sort of that affirmation at the end of the opening and the affirmation at the end of the closing that, we are going to do this and we have done what we needed to do. So, so Andrew's got his prayer for his board and we've got a different prayer for our board. So just depending on whose board we're using is dependent on which prayer we actually use. In Andrew's, he's got... I've
got the archangels in mine.
He calls
so
the archangels.
I call upon Jesus and, the archangels as well.
Yeah.
And I ask for, their light blessing, not just the people on the board, everyone that's even just in the house alone, because it can actually affect sometimes people in that house as well. Who
ripple.
Pretty much. You don't have to be anywhere near the board, just on the land, and something could happen. You never know.
Fascinating.
Friday nights on BFM with Cosmic Girl and Sifu.
So how did you select your board, Andrew? Does a board call you, or do you see it at, do you shop it? What, do you go on eBay or something?
So pretty
much eBay.
Yeah.
I literally got mine off eBay, and I saw the one I saw, this guy hand did his, and he handmade it, and I kind of it's genuine, this guy's put effort into it, and I just kind of want this specific board.
Yeah.
And that's the one I got, and when I got my prayer, because originally I actually used to only use your prayer, but then I decided to get my own. And I searched the whole internet till I just found this one prayer that just clicked with me, and it was just I don't need to just copy and print it. I actually physically handwrote this whole prayer on 2 separate pages, the opening and closing. And to me, it feels like it's more mine now.
That's interesting, because I've been talking to a lot of people over the years, especially with regards to protection documents and protection prayers. Where I come from, being Creole and in the Seychelles Islands, and I guess even in Cajun tradition as well, the physical writing and replication of any holy document is very important in preserving its power. And I've actually got one in my wallet. I might show you later. I hope nothing else falls out while I might have to turn my back for just a couple of seconds, Andrew. But it's true. It's so true. But you know what interests me about that is you just did it. You know, you just did it. You didn't think about it. You didn't read it anywhere. It just felt natural to do it that
To
way.
me, it was just that natural gut instinct, and I just followed it. And I was like, yeah, that's just what I need to do.
Putting your own personality into that.
Absolutely.
By writing it down.
Yeah. And I think that a lot, even, you know, in investigations, you just have to run with it. If you've got something that sort of all of a sudden pops in your head, you just need to go, okay, well, I need to do that. You know, it's not necessarily a thought. It could actually be something that's put there for you to do because, you know, a spirit or whoever you're interacting with needs you to know that. So, you know, and I think that's how it works with channeling because Josh does a lot of channeling. And I think that's how it works with him. You know, he knows things before they're actually written out on our Ouija, and you know, out of courtesy, he doesn't go and blurt it out. He lets the spirit spell it out and whatnot, but he knows, and it's kind of like, how do you know that? And it's just that he has that ability to channel.
Still learning myself.
Yeah, still learning. Yes, very, very new.
But we'll come back to young Josh in a moment because I'm very intrigued by his channeling ability. So. Again, just for the strangers out there, novices like myself, around the board. So we have the board, it's set up. In your room here, it's set up pretty much central on the table. So you have your participants around that. You do your protection prayer. At the conclusion of protection prayer, what's the next stage in using this device?
So we put the planchette on. We never put the planchette on until the actual prayer is completed.
Why is that?
Because we need to open it. Putting the Ouija planchette on there sort of says we're ready to go, and we're not ready until we've actually opened the board by saying our prayer, protecting ourselves and those that are here. And that's just the way that we do it. I think that we're more comfortable knowing that we've opened it up, that we're protected, that the board is protected itself, and we can just go with it. So when we get on there, we basically just ask for any spirits that want to come through, come through and show us that you're there. We usually ask for them to move the planchette towards yes so that they know, so we know that they're actually communicating with us.
Just a couple of things. When you're doing the prayer, is there a unity display? In that, do you link hands or anything like that, or is it pretty much individual?
No.
As long as it's read out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clear that up because I always wondered about that.
Not that you can't do it. I mean, if you feel more natural or sort of comfortable doing that and you want to do that, I mean, it's not something that would be unheard of.
Well, mate, I really enjoy hand holding, so any excuse to do it is a plus for me.
It's natural.
I guess when we sit down and that prayer said, we all know it's serious. We all take it seriously.
Yeah.
Some jokes obviously do come out on the board, but we do take the prayers quite seriously.
Yeah.
Right. So you really clear your mind and you get into that.
It's a solemn moment sort of thing. We all sort of, I know that I think about what I want to get out of the session, or, you know, make sure that I am thinking about that white light that is surrounding us, that, you know, we don't want the, the bad spirits to come through and whatnot. So that's how I sort of focus and sort of centralise myself ready for that particular session. I think that's what we all sort of do. We sort of just, you know, sit quietly, respect the prayer, and then open the board. So...
Okay, so board's open, planchette's placed on the board. Where on the board do you place the planchette? And how is it oriented?
We've got to place it on the centre, pointing straight up right towards the top of the board.
So in the centre with the planchette pointing, so the pointy part of the planchette
will be pointing directly towards the top of the board.
So towards the Ouija. Okay, all right. Okay,
that's just how we started. I mean, I've never heard of any real sort of rules on where you should start it, but we just figure if it starts central, you know, it
doesn't bias anything.
No.
Okay. And sorry, just because I've got a couple of questions and I just want to get them out of my head because I'll forget because I'm not very smart, as you probably know by now.
Not enough credit.
How do you actually, when you contact the planchette, is there a part of the body that you use or favour?
Just fingers, light as a feather.
Any finger?
Well, I usually use the index and middle finger. Some people,
2 fingers?
Well, generally I use 2 fingers. Some people might use 1. It really depends because sometimes your hand gets a bit heavy, so you're sort of, you know, doing these ones and you have to readjust. But usually 1 or 2, just depending on how many people are there and how much room is on the planchette. It's not really
small.
It's only small, yeah.
If you have sort of 5 or 6 people on, which is probably the maximum we usually have on.
Because there's 6 of us in our group.
One finger's more.
But if it was just, 2 or 3, you might find that they'll actually have the 2 fingers on there. So Yeah.
Okay. And is there a lot of lag time between a question asked and a response sometimes?
Oh, it depends on.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it really depends. There's been times when the planchette will actually start going before a question's actually asked.
Yep.
It'll just start telling us what it needs to tell us. And there's other times where, you know, we have to use our energy and you know, ask the spirit to rely on our energy to actually get the planchette moving. So it really depends.
Okay.
There's been times the speed of it sometimes is unbelievable, and luckily enough we have Josh because we cannot read it, and we've even had spirits mock us because we're too slow. They're like, you know, you need to keep up, and then they'll actually mock us by moving it slowly so that we could actually see what letters it's falling on, and it's kind of like, okay, we are getting old. Yeah,
And then
we
you
get it.
asked, did you get that? No. It was just 2 letters.
Yeah, it was just 2 letters, and we still don't know what it's saying.
Oh, wow. So the pacing of the questions then, do you always, I'm really notorious for this. I'll ask even Cosmic Girl on the show a million questions at once.
Yeah, like last night.
Like last night. Because I get excited. I'm like a little puppy dog. Sometimes I get a subject and I want to know more about it. So I'll ask a million questions. Is it a lot better to ask the question, give whatever you're contacting the time to respond?
Yes.
Yes, yeah,
You have
definitely.
to, because if you ask 2 or 3 questions, you don't know what they're answering.
Right, okay. So it's sort of like muddled a little bit like that.
Because you have a yes and a no on the board too, and numbers, and obviously it can spell whatever it wants with the alphabet. If you ask, you know, are you a male? Are you a female? Are you still here? And it moves to yes. How do you know which one's which one it's answering yes to?
So you've really got to be intuitive and patient when it comes to this stuff?
Yes,
a lot of the time, like that's how we found when we first started doing it. Like we would find that this would move so slow that, you know, it would take sometimes a couple of minutes to spell out one word or even just move to yes. Like it's like the spirits had no energy, or they weren't
sure of the board,
sure of how to
or even
use
us,
it properly or whatever. But now that we've been using it for such a long time and so often.
How many sessions do you reckon you've done on them?
Well, maybe 100.
Yeah.
Geez, you guys have got a real problem.
Well, we sometimes have Friday night Ouija sessions. It's like, what are you doing tonight?
Is there a Ouija board like addiction support group out there?
We might have to start. We might have to start one. Yes.
But the problem with it too is like when you tell people, you know, didn't a Ouija board session last night. Oh, really? Like you're messing with sort of evil things there.
It's a tool of the devil, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Apparently, and that all comes down to Hollywood and the movies and your TV shows that have demonized the Ouija board and made it like a tool to contact the devil and
opening portals and, you know. We haven't. We
don't view it that way.
No, we don't view it that way.
We've had no real issues. Like we've had occasional nasty sort of spirits come through, which we've had to deal with, but the majority of our experiences have all been really good. So, and
we do a lot of these Ouijas at home, like our home. And it's not like we're running around going, oh, what's that? You know, did we put another spirit through? And, you know, we're not living in fear. So if it is a device that opens up portals, we've either been really, really lucky or it doesn't happen that way.
I guess it's a tool like anything else. If you use it responsibly, then you're much more likely to get favourable outcomes than not, aren't you?
You can't predict what you're calling through on any of the devices.
No.
It might be any different with the board.
Right.
Yeah.
And like we don't use the board as we use it as a tool for communication, where like most people would think we're using it to contact like the demons and all that sort of stuff. But we don't see it that way. We see it as just another tool of our paranormal gear that we're using to communicate with just normal spirits if something else comes through.
Yeah, our intention isn't to use it as a portal opener.
I think it's a good bonding thing for the team, and you look like a really tight-knit team, which is good. Because that's not always the case.
No, it isn't.
In the broader para family, is it?
That's right.
No. We all get along. Stephen's not here. We'll give him a mention.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, he works fly in, fly out.
Oh, right.
He tends to miss a lot of things.
Boo, Steve.
Yeah, so, but, you know, we've had him here on sessions, and I think we all sort of get along, and we all have strengths, you know. We've all got something something to
complement each other.
to bring to the table.
And
So.
speaking of strengths that you brought to the table, young Josh, you thought you got away with it, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
I piqued my interest now, young man. So what do you bring to the table? Quite literally, in fact.
Friday nights on BFM with Cosmic Girl and Sifu.
Yeah, well, literally, I just think that, like, some of the times I know what's going to say. Like, I can feel the spirits and I kind of know what type of spirits.
What happens when you say you can feel the spirits?
Yeah.
Describe that sensation
Well,
to
it's
me.
just a lot of the time I tend to get really tired really quickly. But I mean, when I'm just sitting in the room, I can just feel it. Like, you know something's coming through and you know something's in the room. And
Is there something in the room with us now?
maybe in the right-hand corner, yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, like, obviously when there's more people in the room, it's hard to kind of pick that up.
It's like she's looking straight at me.
Yeah, as Tina said, I'm still learning with it, but I feel like the more I do it, I'm learning more every time. And it's good. I love doing the Ouija, so I'll always defend it. I'll never bag it out or anything like that. I'll use it forever.
Yep. And what else do you use? What other things do you do?
Well,
Writing board.
Writing board, we've got our writing board.
yeah. I tend to use, like, last Bull's Head Inn investigation, there was a family member that came through and I jumped on there and helped her out a little bit, and, you know, I could tend to feel what they were thinking and just let her know that they were telling her that they're okay and
Okay.
that everything's all
That's
right.
pretty comforting for some people.
It was actually a very emotional session. There was probably not a dry eye in the room. Like it was very, very up there in energy. And I think it was something that the lady sort of appreciated, obviously, but I think it was something she needed as well.
Closure?
Yeah, a bit of closure. I think she's actually been sensing it herself, and just to have that sort of validation as well. I mean, as we said, you know, with the writing board or a Ouija, you ask questions and to validate Josh's ability. We don't need these people before they come on an investigation. We don't sit there and research them or anything. And he's able to validate things and give them answers to questions that there's no way that he would know as a person or an individual. So we definitely believe that ability is his. Yeah.
It's something like a really strange. I don't know. Yeah.
It's safe to say that the board probably does give off different emotions too, depending on, like, you know, family members, or if you feel something's not right, you know it. The board gives it off. It's not.
Yeah, like sometimes I'll randomly just start getting teary in the eyes for no reason, and it's just like, well,
Yeah.
you can't explain it, and obviously there's emotions there that's making you feel like that. So
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Explain that auto writing thing to me, Josh, a little bit more.
So the auto writing board, it's a little bit different to an Ouija board. It's just kind of the same shape as a planchette, but we put a pen through the middle of it, and everyone will put their fingers gently on it. And obviously, if you put too much pressure on it, it's going to tip. Because what do you put on the bottom of it?
We've got felt on the bottom to make it glide easier, and we've actually done it in a specific way so that if there is too much pressure on one side, we can actually depict that, so we know if somebody's actually manipulating that particular
Right. Okay.
And as we tell the guests, it's not an Ouija board, because they tend to, you know, you have a Ouija board on the table, they start to back up a little bit. Where this is better, it helps them out a bit. But lately, it's just family members, like a lot of family members coming through on that for the guests. And I mean,
So at our locations, normally, you know, we do try and speak to the spirits that reside at the locations, but the last few investigations, we've actually found that the public, like our guests that have come along to do the investigations with us, spirits have actually come through to communicate with them, so they're not actually from our location. So
Wow.
and obviously
that seems. Oh, sorry.
No, you're right. No, you finish.
That seems to be quite good for them.
I just poked listeners. I just poked Tina just to show her what Brucey was doing with the planchette.
He put it
sort
down.
of automatically does it.
Yeah, he put it down
I didn't even
for
know
3
I was doing
seconds.
it.
He doesn't
He
even
put it
know.
down for 3 seconds
Yeah.
after you noted, and he's already picked it up.
He's done it, and he knows. Yeah, he
Yeah.
knows, and he just can't.
Yeah, I knew what you were.
Paranormal fidget spinner.
Yeah, paranormal fidget spinner.
Yeah, that's right. Whatever happened to fidget spinners? I used to enjoy those. Anyway, small things, I suppose.
Didn't last long.
No, it didn't. Well, that's really interesting.
Yeah, and obviously as the auto writing board, as it moves, the pen will, you know, draw lines and stuff. And lately it's been writing even physically to where we can see it with our own eye as we take the planchette off. Like there was a buy written.
You probably still have it on the board over there too.
Cursive writing, you know, like yeah, like it's been writing.
One of them.
On one of them. We didn't actually realise
Like
we had so many.
5 writing boards.
5 writing boards, yeah.
A Ouija there, a Ouija there.
Oh, right, I see.
Yeah, we got
So just to
Ouijas all around the place.
Well, what we might do is we might do a little bit of a live soonish, and you guys can show a few of your wares if you don't mind.
Yeah, it just looked like a mess, but I mean,
So to confirm to the listeners, our listeners,
They most certainly are listening for
Welcome
this
to South
today.
East Paranormal radio show.
yeah. So
100.3 Bay FM.
Oh, look,
look at that, plug in the middle. So
you can stop now. You're sort of making me nervous.
So a writing board is basically just a blank canvas. It's got no letters, it's got no numbers, it's got no yes, no or anything. It is just blank, and it's just used basically to write. So imagine just a sheet of paper that's used, but usually it's Nico in our case. Takes a lot to get the Nico off after a session, but that's basically it. It's not an Ouija. There is nothing around it to suggest that it's an Ouija. It's just a blank piece of board. You can buy them from Bunnings, actually.
Wow.
Oh, sorry.
See, Bunnings is a supplier to the paranormal now, apparently.
We get our batteries from Bunnings as well.
Yeah.
Just trying to find this one from
So
the last
Bunnings, if
weekend.
you want to give us a discount,
Yeah, there you go. There'll be-
we'll
next
give
time
you
I-
a massive plug here.
Next time I interview you guys, it'll be South East Paranormal sponsored by. There'll be a big Bunnings logo on the back of your
Your bread
I
logo.
don't know where the
sausage and bread
There it is.
logo.
Yeah,
With the onion underneath.
with the
Okay.
onion, definitely onion.
Don't tell Sifu what it says, but ask him if you can see if there's a word there. Like looking at it from my direction.
I can see like it looks like a B that's there.
Yeah,
BYE maybe?
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
So
shapes and stuff.
Spelling's not my strong suit.
glad we picked an easy word for you.
But look, guys, I just want to, because we're running out a little bit of time, it's all fascinating stuff. I could probably speak to you guys for hours, because you really do know your craft when it comes to this stuff. In a nutshell, the number one standout Ouija experience story. Go, Brucey.
When I had the Ouija board spell out, imagine if this was a knife and it then proceeded to launch the planchette across the board off the table and directly into my lap.
But before we got to that position, Bruce was actually sitting there with a pillow because it had been doing it a couple of times prior to that. So he was protecting himself by one of our couch cushions.
All right. Better to be safe than
was
sorry.
scared.
All right. Okay. Well, that's the
Wanted to hurt
paranormal
me.
for you.
Yeah, so all this experiences aren't all peaches and cream, but
Not for the faint-hearted, that's for sure.
you definitely take the good with the bad.
Yes.
Any of you other guys? Standouts?
Well, mine's not. Oh, I suppose it is bad. It's when we were again using the Ouija, and I actually felt the energy off the planchette when it sort of come flying towards me. I even sort of picked myself up and, sort of jumped back from it because I could actually feel the energy sort of come towards me. So it wasn't just, the planchette as such. It was whatever was actually manipulating the planchette. So
I think really, given these stories that you're telling, we need to do something about the shape of the planchette.
we need to round off the edge.
Round off the point.
Yeah, make it less like an edged weapon for you guys.
Yeah.
Or you can sit at the table in full body armor or something. Full contact Ouija.
Plates.
All right, well, guys, we'll wind it up there. I guess just for the strange listeners out there, any advice to the punters that want to give Ouija a crack? Have you got any advice, guys, having been in it for ages and done hundreds of these sessions without any real adverse outcomes?
I would say respect, 100%.
Research and respect.
Yeah.
Do your homework before you do it.
yeah, and then there'll be no reason to be afraid of it. Or,
Yeah, yeah.
It's a good device to use, and it definitely does.
Or
work.
maybe even come and learn from people who know. Because these guys here, strangers, seem to be really on their game here when it comes to that.
We've got a beautiful room set up for it, so definitely.
Absolutely.
Also, like a really big one, which is a very common staple. Make sure you have people with you. Never do it alone.
Yeah, never do it alone. Yeah, never do it
Because you're
alone.
twice as susceptible to it.
So we just like bushwalking, never do it alone.
Yeah, never do it alone. Yep, you'll never come back from it.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, okay. A portal will open up and swallow you.
We're not doing these in Bangalore, but let's say.
But no, certainly never do it alone. And we never store the planchette on top of the Ouija. When we close our sessions off, they're always separated. It's never It's never left
Ooh,
on the
like
top.
guns and ammunition.
Yeah,
You never store
basically,
them in the
yeah,
same
you
place at
never-
the same time.
Exactly.
Strangers,
Yeah.
that's a bit of good advice there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much for your time. It's great. It's actually really good drive up the range here to spend some time with you guys in Toowoomba this Saturday morning. So, Strange Encounters, we're always on the road. We're always out taking up with some really interesting people all around Australia, actually, and we'll have more news on some of the big trips coming up this year a little bit later on, and hopefully love to be doing a lot more work with SEP, South East Paranormal, over the next months. So thanks very much for your time, guys. Great to see you all.
Yep, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Yep.
Friday nights on Bay FM with Cosmic Girl and Sifu.